TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Where were you when you heard about Owen?
I was on an airplane. I was going to do the Jay Leno show. I wasn't actually going to do the show, but I was going to come amazingly pop out of the crowd or something like that.
Right. Do you think Vince should have stopped the show?
Yes, I don't think anybody should have. I don't understand anyone else's thinking. I don't know how you could go on. I think he should have stopped the show for sure. I don't think if Vince had dropped little Stephanie from the ceiling, I think he would have stopped the show.
As far as the next night on Raw, what were your feelings watching that show?
I didn't like it. I know that people will say that they poured their hearts out and they meant everything they said, and I don't disagree with that. I think everyone meant well, maybe why, but in truth, it's not the right place to express that. It's not. You don't do stuff like that for ratings. You don't do things like that with the camera on. I found a lot of it wasn't the fitting kind of tribute to Owen that I thought. And I thought if you were going to do a special maybe on Owen, where you show his matches and things about him, but I don't know. It reeked of pro wrestling. It was something a slimy, rotten wrestling promoter would do to capitalize even more. And I just a lot of the wrestlers. A lot of them, my heart went out to them when I saw them break down crying. This is awful watching someone cry on TV, and it's the wrong forum to do it in.
What happened with the meeting with you and Vince, and how was it arranged? The one at the park.
That was set up by Carlo DeMarco, who'd been sent up to sort of try to help or to try to mediate, I guess, some of the obvious bad feelings, or because Carlo was somebody that, and I still like Carlo. He was somebody that could come into the household and not get shot. Yeah. And at the same time, he was someone that could go back and, tell everybody what's going on. He came to me, Vince called me 4, 5, 6 times. My old pal told me. And,
did he ever try to get you back to WWF before Owen's death?
No. Never had another conversation with him, other than the one I talked about with Vince Russo. But with Vince, I didn't want to meet him. I said, I'm just not ready. It was a really tough thing for me. And I was carrying a lot of stuff on my back. And I just didn't know how to deal with Vince. And I really resent, just so you know, and maybe it's a good chance for anyone that cares to know, I really resent the insinuation by that company and even by certain members of my family that have sort of festered it, that my whole thing is sort of built on this grudge or vendetta about what happened to me in Montreal. I can't think of anything more of an insult to me than that. It's such an insult. It's never had any place. What happened to me in a wrestling match in Montreal is absolutely it has no bearing on what happened with my brother Owen. 2 totally different things. On one someone got killed. One, I beat up a slimy promoter that deserved it and punched him out one time in the dressing room. And I went and left a company that was paying me X amount of dollars and then paid a lot more working for another company. And despite how it may look or feel to some people, I've never had any regrets about what I did. I've never had any regrets about leaving the company. My only regret would be is that I feel bad that a guy that I could work that hard for could treat somebody like he did me. But it's always been, there's a spin on it, and that bothers me. There's so many things I resent about the WWF that have nothing to do with Montreal, that have everything to do with the day my brother died and passed. And that's the real, like if I thought they were slimy before, yeah, they're the lowest. Jerry McDivitt is the lowest slime of the world too. I think they divide and conquer. They divided and conquered my family with such ease. They came up there and threw money around to certain people, and they within seconds almost justify what happened to Owen. That's just one of those things. And it isn't just one of those things. And if it is just one of those things, maybe we should let a court of 12 jurors tell us that it's just one of those things. But and on the other hand, I certainly wasn't in control of Martha and her lawsuit. That's been a false accusation from the start too, that I'm calling the shots. Bret's running the show. Bret's behind this whole lawsuit. Absolutely untrue. I have nothing. I've never had anything to do with that lawsuit. I never had any say in that lawsuit. I wish I had. I wish I had been in control of that lawsuit, because if it had been me, it would still be going on. At least I'd know what happened. But anyway, going back to your question, the meeting that I had with Vince, he called me, I don't know how many times, every day, 2 or 3 times. He's well-rehearsed sort of teary messages of how we've got to get together. Got to talk to you. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I want to say to him. I really don't. I'm so angry and hurt over this whole thing. But at the same time, whatever happened isn't even important. So I'm trying to find a footing here to base some kind of I don't even know what he wants to talk to me about. And so I did. Martha, who I was with, right from the time I got home, asked me to show up just to be with her when she saw her lawyers. And I was. They weren't hired yet. And the lawyers, I said, Vince McMahon has been calling me. He wants to talk to me. I said, what are your feelings on it? And they went on, they actually didn't want me to meet him. Don't meet him. So I don't know how I can't meet him. I'm going to meet him somewhere at the funeral or whatever, and it was coming. And they said, well, whatever you do, don't talk about the case. And because it was, at this point, there wasn't a case yet, though. I wasn't sure. All I said is, it looks like there's going to be a lawsuit. And I think anyone from the second it happened concluded that it was probably going to be a lawsuit here. And I said, okay. So I finally agreed that I would meet Vince. And I was trying to think of where would I meet Vince? Where would I want to meet? And I thought I could just picture Vince meeting me in a hotel room or something, Just seems so slimy and creepy. He's kind of he's like his character on TV, except for he's really like that.
Right.
And it's like, I said, if I meet Vince McMahon, I'm going to meet him somewhere in a park, somewhere. And I remember this park that I used to ride my bike all the time. And I used to ride my bike there all the time. I used to always sit there on the park bench and go, why did this guy screw me? I worked so hard for him. It was always just a spot where I sat. I said, if he wants to meet me so bad, he can meet me right there at that park. It's fresh air, birds chirping. And I was, during that week, I thought, that's where I want to meet him. If he wants to meet me, tell him to be there at 3 o'clock and I'll meet him. So they call me at 2 o'clock the day he gets in on the Sunday. And they tell me that Vince doesn't want to meet me in the park. He's scared I'm going to kill him. So Carlo DeMarcus, he's scared you're going to kill him. And so if he's scared I'm going to kill him, why does he want to meet me? I don't want to meet him. Tell him to go to hell. I don't give a shit. I don't even want to see the guy. This is his big idea. So then they call me back about 10 minutes later. It's okay. Vince will meet you. He'll meet you. It's not a problem. They meet you at the park. So I go to the park. Vince, because he didn't know where the park was, he had to follow me in his car. Gives me the big hug, it's like it's almost enough to make you puke sometimes. But anyway, so I go sit with Vince in the park. And I was just trying to be fair, straight with him. Because like I said, what happened before is nothing. It's nothing. And I said, the first thing I said is the truth. I said, something about me, I can be pretty truthful. And I said, there's a good chance there's going to be a lawsuit. I don't know what happened. From what I can gather, what you said on TV and everything else, that you don't know what happened. I know he wasn't up there, so how would he know? There's an investigation on. He goes, I don't know any more either than what I've already said. I said, well, look, we both know there's probably going to be a lawsuit. and that we shouldn't talk about it. I was told not to talk about it to you, and let's not go there. Let's not talk about it. He goes, "You're right." And then I tore a strip off him from running the show. I said to talk to him about, but not. I didn't raise my voice or anything.
Right.
I was very straightforward with him. And told him how I thought it was wrong that they kept the show going. And he gave me his feeble reasons why he did, which were I thought there was going to be a riot. If you can imagine people rioting because someone got killed in the wrestling film. I find that such lunacy. And then it was kind of like, it just kind of came out. I don't know if there was anything else. I know there was maybe one or two other issues we talked about, but I finally said, so I always wanted to know why you screwed me. So I know what happened. Why did you screw me that week? And then he had his reasoning. Well, you wouldn't do business. I said, what do you mean I wouldn't do business? And everything he said, I had a better answer for. Well, then somebody was Sean. Sean told me they wouldn't, naming I have all my facts.
Right.
Vince even then, maybe he'd had a long week, justifiably, but I mean, he got sort of caught up in his lies all the time I was talking to me. And finally, he told me, he goes, it was the biggest mistake I ever made. Biggest regret I've ever had. I've been sorry from the day I did it. And I would do anything to you should come back and work for me. You should come back and finish your career with me. And I will take care of you and blah, 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 this whole thing. And I was honest. I said, Vince, I can't even imagine going back to the wrestling business at all for anybody, just period. And so the thought of him giving me this job, which is what he did to everybody in my family, he's going to give me that, he's going to make me a bigger star, like he's going to do all this, and I think he would have too.
Do you think he just wanted to bring you back because he knew it would be such big business?
I think it would be a PR thing to get the dead brother's brother back after what happened, and it would show everybody like, oh, okay, there is a happy ending here or something. But it wasn't from here,
But you don't think that it was also for the reason that bringing you back, he could do something with you and Sean again, and they could play off that whole big
I had
thing?
all kinds of angle I worked with any of those guys, including him.
Right.
They say the biggest WrestleMania would have been
Right.
versus Vince. But anyway, I was real straight with him and honest with him. And I remember finally one of the things I asked of Vince, I said, you promised me the week before I left. And then, of course, we had I did what I did. And I said, I'd like to ask you for access to my footage, because I had done that book that I did, which I hadn't even got to the pictures part of it, but I've got 14 years of pictures in the WWF. I don't have any pictures of my career. Now I don't think I have any pictures of all the pictures I have of my career when I worked for my father, which is a shame. I asked him about access to my footage, my archives, anything I need in relation to that, because it was always something I always wanted to have. And I said, I'm asking for me, I'm asking for my brother Owen, his estate. And I said, I don't want it attached to any condition we should get it for what we've done in the past. And he cut me off, like he didn't even want to hear it. He says, you got it. You got it. Whatever you want, you got it. You call my office and you tell them, and they will take care of you this week. And I said, well, I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And it did. And I thought, in a lot of ways, I might have been the first inkling of a bit of a thaw, where I could at least, maybe now, today, I could be speaking a little better of him. So, But, and I could, I think I've always been told that he watched me on Larry King, is what someone told me that same day, I think, or the next day. And apparently whatever I said on Larry King, he just said, I'm not, so I've never had any access to any other stuff. As a matter of fact, his lawyer said by the Thursday of the funeral was on a Monday, I think. By the time Thursday came around, Vince's lawyers had said that they didn't recall that part of the conversation taking place about giving me access to my archives and all that. I was also told that Vince was mic'd the whole time, and that I was also told that I was surrounded without my knowing about it all over the park by a SWAT team. In case I pulled a gun out, they were going to shoot me or something like that. And I found that out from a policeman that said he was there, and they listened to every word I said, and they listened to every word that Vince said. And the cop that I spoke to said that he was a total slime. He said he goes, I was there. I listened to every word you said. We all had little pieces on and everything. So you get an idea where the trust was. But anyway, so I've never. Since that, from that day on, there was a complete different. All of a sudden, I became I was driving the lawsuit. Bret's driving the lawsuit, and he's got this vendetta. Jerry McDivitt did a wonderful job of sort of painting me out to be the sort of the troublemaker and the guy that's, I've never had anything to do with the lawsuit. And my sisters both either were sold on the idea by him or did their own because they were looking to get their husbands harmed, Ellie and Diane, both, neither of which I talk to anymore.
What's the final outcome with the lawsuits?
It was a waste of time, I think. I think for everybody. I guess what bothers me about it is that Vince McMahon decided he was worth $18 million, and that's all. That's the bottom line. And that bothers me because I don't think, maybe he was worth $18 million, maybe he's worth $9 million, maybe he's worth, I don't know how you can just justify, anyone can just put a figure on it. What I had hoped right from the beginning is that someone of a neutral party, or someone of with no access to crime, 12 jurors, would sit there and go. But then in the end, to be really honest, what does it matter? 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, $300 billion. Money's never going to bring them back. It's the principle of finding out what happened and why, and someone paying for that mistake. And I don't think that was done. I still don't know what happened. Martha sort of braved on through this lawsuit with the best. She did the best she could. She hired, I think, really poor lawyers in the first place. That's my opinion. She hired a friend, which you never do, to help her. And she, and I think they didn't do such a bad job, maybe, but they were up against some lawyers that have took out the U.S. government, big time lawyers that will do anything to win. And for Martha to say that it was one of her quotes in the paper was that it was a total victory. I can never imagine me saying the words that it was ever a total victory. But she was undermined right from the very beginning by my own family, who were offered jobs. My sister Ellie was sending all the legal documents directly to Jerry McDivitt, anything that happened in relation to my parents. And Martha was always, there's like so many spies in the camp that, and it breaks my heart to think about it. And then to have my sister Ellie and them sort of, their response to that is that I had a vendetta, which is, so people, I don't know how people, justify it. Like, oh, okay, that makes it, Bret's got a vendetta. Yeah. It's such an insult to me that I never had anything to do with the lawsuit. I was trying to be very helpful and try to be supportive. I never had any say in it at all. But my sisters really sabotaged it so much from the inside that Martha was forced into basically taking their offer and getting out of it and like locking up the doors and disappearing from my family forever, which is about what's happened. She's pretty much shut down from everybody, with the exception maybe me and a couple of my brothers. But I don't think anyone ever found out what happened, and I don't think anyone really paid for it. Vince, from what I gathered, made about $10 million of it was insurance, and I'm not sure how much money was made off running the show two more times. I think they ran it, but I imagine Owen's death cost him about $3 million.
Now, you saw the off-the-record thing with Vince where he came on and we talked about your reading in the park. And he said that you had no heart. Or something. He made a comment that said you wouldn't even talk about your brother.
Yeah, so that's such a cold-blooded thing to say. I was very clear. I said I'm not allowed.
Right.
I've been asked by Martha's lawyers to not talk about it. And he agreed. I would love to have talked about Owen, but I wasn't trying to be self-centered. I think I was. What else could have been more on my mind than my brother Owen? To say that, and to say I sat there with the face of a skeleton, I think he said, staring out like a skeleton. Let's drop Shane from the ceiling and I'll sit down beside you and we'll just have a casual conversation. We'll see how Vince's eyes look.
TitleMatchNetwork.com